Hello everyone, this is Bluegrass 88's Economic Hammer YouTube channel, and today we're going to tackle worker unions in the United States and the hidden war they've been fighting for 230 years. So here's what American workers haven't known but are about to. Every time workers striked, every time workers organized, every time workers were jailed, shot, or starved out, the workers weren't just fighting the boss. They weren't just fighting a company. No, workers were fighting economic royalism and their cohorts, economic royalists. And in 250 years of American history, only 12 years, 1935 to 1947, gave unions full protection from economic royalism. Every other year, worker unions have been under the economic royalists' boot, and the economic hammer is going to prove that fact to you now. In 1794, just a few years after the Constitution was signed, the first American trade union was born in Philadelphia. It wasn't steel or coal. No, it was shoemakers, the Federal Society of Journeymen Cordwainers. They were skilled craftsmen who wanted one thing: fair pay for their work. But the bosses had a different answer: bring wages down, pit workers against each other, and squeeze more profit out of every pair of shoes. So the shoemakers did what workers have done for centuries. They organized. They set wage scales, they striked when necessary, and they thought the law would protect their right to bargain. Workers were wrong, very wrong. From 1794 through the early 1800s, the courts were the weapon of early economic royalists. Judges hauled workers into court under criminal conspiracy charges. The logic was brutal. If workers combined together to demand fair wages, that was a conspiracy against commerce. And commerce, in the eyes of the court, always came before people. A founding principle of economic royalism. The most famous union case came in 1806, right back in Philadelphia, when the shoemakers struck again. The courts convicted them of criminal conspiracy simply for forming a union. Union wages collapsed, their organization was broken, and the message was clear. In America, the law stood with the bosses, not workers. Royalism at its finest. For nearly 50 years, every time workers tried to combine, this was the story. Whether it was printers, carpenters, tailors, or shoemakers, the courts would step in and call it criminal. But in 1842, something shifted. The Massachusetts Supreme Court in Commonwealth versus Hunt finally declared that unions weren't automatically criminal conspiracies. It was a small crack in the economic royalist wall, and it opened the door to the next phase of the workers' union fight. So viewers, we had 50 damn years of struggle between 1794 to 1842 just to get the U.S. courts to admit workers had a right to exist as unions. 50 years of fighting economic royalism before anyone even called it by its name. It was a victory, but only on paper. Workers could legally exist as unions, but they had no real power. Through the mid-1800s, as the Industrial Revolution took hold, the railroads, steel barons, and industrialists rose to power. They built fortunes on child labor, 12-hour days, and starvation wages. And every time workers fought back, economic royalism answered with violence and repression. The Great Railroad Strike of 1877 made it crystal clear. Workers from West Virginia to Chicago shut down the railroads, demanding better pay and hours. The response: federal troops with bayonets and guns. Dozens killed. The message again: the government would stand with the bosses, not the people. In the 1880s, workers organized for the 8-hour day. The movement grew into mass strikes, culminating in Chicago in 1886. That's when the Haymarket affair turned a workers' rally into a bloodbath. Bombs, police gunfire, trials, and hangings. And once again, the story was written as if workers were the criminals. By 1890, unions were technically legal, but powerless in practice. Courts sided with companies. Politicians sided with corporations. Strikers were beaten, shot, and jailed. This was the setup for the next phase of royalist attack. If criminal conspiracy couldn't keep worker unions down, the courts would find a new weapon: injunctions and antitrust laws. The royalist system was already sharpening its blade.